ball knocked loose. White dive on it.
This is twice now the Celtics have been first to the floor.
They try to save with Horford. Unbelievable.
Boston first to the floor. So good.
Brown fakes, fires up the three. Bang! Tatum dives on the floor. Everybody dives. Jaylen Brown with the flush. Blocked by Porzingis. He's doing it all. Tatum spinning, driving, layup. Got it. Washington drives. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
All right, welcome in. First to the Floor podcast. Ben Ballas here, along with a guy who has literally never been happier thanks to Jordan Walsh's sudden emergence, Wayne Spooney. Spooney, how's it going, man?
Dude, it's a good day to be a Walshy stan. I mean, this is crazy. I didn't expect it. And it's ironic, like, I finally started giving up on him in the preseason too. And of course, that it's always darkest before the dawn, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes Jordan Walsh just looking absolutely awesome. So we're very excited. Absolute bloodbath against Memphis. But how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Just sitting on the beach, Walshy Island. The cargo ships are on the horizon. They're bringing in the infrastructure, the new citizens who can't wait to migrate to Walshy Island. So we're having a good time. But look, Celtics fans, they are divided. Should we tank and risk losing our winning culture? Should we bench Derek and Jaylen and gun for a number one pick? Should Anfernee Simons be a starter? Is Joe Mazzulla actually an awful coach? In a few moments, we're going to go and try and right the ship around expectations of this year's Celtics and maybe get everyone on the same page, unify the fan base where possible. But first, Spooney, the Celtics just blew the pants off the Memphis Grizzlies, I should say, last night. What stood out to you in this one?
First of all, you just kind of called them the Grizzlies, and I feel like that's an appropriate name for them after that game. They gribbled their way through that, which I'm not sure is a word, but it feels apropos for what happened. The Grizzlies should be embarrassed. That is one of the worst performances I have seen from an NBA team in quite a long time. At least the Nets try. Like, these dudes look so incredibly checked out. Like, Jaren Jackson Jr., supposedly one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. So many possessions, he was just kind of standing next to Kata and doing absolutely nothing. Like, showing on the pick and roll half-assed, and then we just dump it in behind him. This is serious. They hate their coach vibes. I've never seen anything like no, that's not true. I've seen stuff like this, but I mean, it was really super pathetic. And look, say what you want about the Celtics. Obviously, the talent level is much lower than it was last year. If you come in and try to think it's going to be an easy game, we're going to blow the doors off you. Like Cleveland did the same thing where they're like, oh, this isn't the Celtics of last year. We're going to win this game. We beat them by 20. Like, this team plays damn hard, and the Grizzlies found out and got smoked by 40. But like, the story to me is Walshy, especially that dude, the beginning, like the start of the game when he like comes out, has a block. I think he had an offensive rebound or like some massive rebound. I think he had a dunk or a layup too. Like, it was awesome. He has injected a ton of like, I think just hustle into that starting lineup. He's kind of taken Minot's spot, and I just think he's a little more skilled offensively than Minot. Is that crazy to say?
I don't think so. I mean, his three-point shot looks pure. Like, the form looks pure. Obviously, like, I haven't checked the recent percentages. I feel like
he's around 30.
Yeah, pretty like all right. Obviously could be better, but the form itself, like the purity of the stroke is there compared to Minot. I mean, I could probably say the same for my own jump shot compared to Josh Minot's, but you know, Minot's been banging them down. Banging them down? Is that what people say? Anyway, yeah, I think you're right that Walshy's got more of a complete game, and yeah, in the first possession last night, the stop on Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., and just the defensive versatility, man. Like, this is after his previous defensive possessions were multiple consecutive stops on Tyrese Maxey in crunch time. And then it's like, okay, Jordan Walsh, starting the game, first possession, they throw it down to Triple J. He tries to take Jordan Walsh to the cup, and Walsh just like completely stops him. He gets that Euro layup immediately on the other end, and then comes back and gets another stop as well. And then he had a block on Triple J mid-second quarter as well. So the fact that he's pairing that with locking down the prior competition's like best dynamic guard, you know, former MIP, one of the better young quick guards in the league, and Walsh is just like, okay, I'm getting minutes now. Oh, I'm starting now. You want me to stop the other team's best player, completely different player archetypes on consecutive nights on a back-to-back? Like, sure, I'm up for that assignment. And he did a really good job. And then he's not trying to over-assert himself on the other end. He's just like flying in for rebounds, getting the ball to one of our guards to get up the court, and then flying up the court to get himself into position. And I feel like defenses are having to respect his shot just enough for him to contribute to our spacing as well. So, and I think like he's nowhere close to his ceiling yet either. So yeah, it's all promising in the Walshy world right now.
Yeah, and my apologies to Jordan Walsh. He's shooting 2 threes a game, and he's shooting 44% from three right now, Ben. Yeah, so like obviously that's not real, but I mean that is indicative of like, could he be around 37-38% on threes? Like, to your point, I think the shot looks really, really good. I would like him to have a little quicker trigger. Like if he's making 44% of them, that means he's not taking enough of them. And obviously part of that is the fact that he was getting token minutes for the first few games, but I think he's taken like 2 or 3 these last 5 games when he's gotten real minutes. So I want to see him let it fly a little bit more often. Yeah, he's taken 3, 3, 2, 1, and 2 in every game he's played 18 or more minutes these last 5. So let it fly a little more. He passed on one wide open 3 last night that kind of was upsetting, but I'm pretty sure we were already up by like 30 at that point. So and I like, he looks good getting to the rim and driving closeouts. Like, I really feel like he looks very comfortable, and he's really like slowed himself down when he's driving and just kind of trusts his length and athleticism to get him that first step. And once he has that initial advantage, he's not like, oh my God, I got to get it up on the rim because I'm about to get blocked. He's just taking his time. And yeah, that first Euro layup that he had, perfect example of that. Like, he just Euroed around the defender and boom, laid it up in there. Perfect pace, perfect tempo. So I'm super encouraged. This is beyond my wildest dreams, frankly.
It's the best. I just, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I look forward to the pairing, like a beautiful French wine and a lovely steak, the pairing of Walshy, whatever Walshy's becoming, and the eventual return of Jayson Tatum as well. Not to mention the other like litany of developmental like wings we've got going on as well. So a lot of excitement for the Celtics future, which we're going to get to in a second. I'm glad you mentioned the Grizzlies like showing or the hedging on those Nemi handoffs to Pritchard, Hauser as well. Basically anybody that was showing on that screening action, and whoever the big was, Nemi in most cases, was just like, no one has ever had safer passage to any destination than Nemi had to the rim in that instance. It was crazy. Other than that, I think Jaylen Brown, just like another just complete game. Captain's knock, you might say. 19, 6, and 6, just 2 turnovers despite like quite a lot of creation responsibility for him. He only played 25 minutes, which was great to see him obviously benefit from the insane blowout. But we're going to get to this in a second, so I don't want to like bear the lead too much, but just everything is about like, what is the environment going to be like for Jayson Tatum on his return? And like, Jaylen Brown just looks fucking sick.
Yeah.
And ran.
Yeah. He looks healthy, man, and it's great. And I think the 6 and 6, sort of the tertiary numbers, aren't quite as high as I was expecting. But Jake and I talked about this. Like, he's not Joe. I feel like Joe is to take a victory lap, buddy, because the way he's got this team playing, and I know we're under 500, but like considering the talent and like most of these losses have been really close and they're blowing some of these teams out. Like, I feel like Joe's done a really good job. I expected Jaylen's assists to creep up and like he got to be square peg round hole into sort of like a Tatum style role. That's really not what's happening. He's just getting more Jaylen Brown style possessions where it's like empty side ISOs, empty pick and rolls. He'll come off like a pin down from the corner, get to his right hand with pace. And they're just kind of doing like the Tatum role doesn't exist right now in this offense, right? They're just having Pritchard and White and Simons to a lesser degree initiate the offense and let Jaylen get to his spots. And he has been awesome. This is the best he's played in his career. Turnovers are slightly up, but the efficiency is bananas, man. His true shooting is 60.3, which would very easily be a career high by a couple of percentage points. And on his volume, that's a crazy number. Like, it really is, man. And that's like elite volume elite efficiency at that volume. So especially when you look at who he's surrounded with in some of these lineups, man. So I just love the way Jaylen's playing. And if this is a Jaylen we get when Tatum comes back, it kind of changes the tenor of the team in some ways.
Yeah, like you're just pairing two all NBA talents together in a league where like salary becomes crowded on any given roster so easily now with all the apron situations. Yep. So yeah, we'll take the Jays and these ancillary pieces, which seems fair to sort of I don't know, pile Derek White into that category, for example. But you know, on the assist numbers for Jaylen Brown, and again, not to pile on Derek White, like if Derek White is like hitting his career averages from three on those kickouts, because Jaylen Brown, like he, you know, I guess it's not necessarily more obvious than it has been in the past, but I feel like his ability to get like down under the basket and then his kick-out game just feels more decisive than ever, or as decisive as ever. And maybe just the lack of conversion on some of those kickouts might be somewhat contributing to the lower assist numbers there. Based on your prediction, but I feel like he's doing some really decisive playmaking work down low as well.
Yeah, man, definitely. He's just living in the paint, and that's something. And the mid range. I mean, like push come to shove, he's also just absurdly like efficient from the mid range right now, and that's always kind of been his game. And there's just a lot more room for him to take those shots without Tatum around. But he's just getting to his spots so easily. Like he had one, I think it was Jalen Wells was trying to guard him, and he didn't even make a move. He just like jab step, went right, and he just blew by Jalen Wells. Like it reminded me of like young rookie Jaylen Brown, where like he got into the game with the flat top and then he like gets it in the corner and just like flies by somebody. And he like biffs the layup right back then, but it was just like, what am I watching? This is crazy. Yeah. He's got that athletic pop back, and now he's just so strong and so skilled. Man, he's just playing really fun. And like I've always said, Jalen's game when he's going is more aesthetically pleasing than Tatum's, because Tatum's kind of just robotic and efficient with everything, where JB's got like the style, kind of like the cross you up, you know, jab step spin into the like mid-range jumper. That to me is like growing up on like the Jordan Iverson basketball. It's like the peak of aesthetically pleasing basketball. So he's just been so damn good. Defensively, Jalen's had some troubles, I'll be honest, but whatever. It's kind of just standard Jaylen defense, like getting lost a few times, but whatever. Who cares?
Well, yeah, and you bring Jayson Tatum back, who's able to defend an entire quadrant of the court by himself at once, and suddenly, you know, those issues are less obvious. But yeah, the space creation from Jaylen in the mid-range as well, where he's basically just kind of like shrugging guys off of him and then just creating a pocket of room to get up for that mid-range attempt is very cool. All right, I think we should get on to the meat of the show. But first, do you want to hit prize picks really quickly? Just get it out of the way. Not that we don't love our friends over at Prize Picks.
Yeah, absolutely. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Pick, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this basketball season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks, it's super fun. It's super easy. You just kind of log on there and put in your lineup. I mean, look, I don't know if you've seen what Wemby has been doing, but points, rebounds, assists, more on Wemby. Like, I really don't think you can go wrong with that. Look, Jaylen Brown, we just talked about him. I would go, I feel like he's in for some bigger assist games, like Ben said, when Derek and Pritchard, who may have just broken out of their slump, start really hitting. So more on Jaylen Brown. Assists and Nemi rebounds. I had a Nemi more rebounds the other day that won some money. So Nemi's just been a beast on the board. So Wemby, Jaylen Brown, Neemias Queta, three of the best players in the NBA. Can't go wrong with those guys. And it's super easy to just put that in on Prize Picks, get it in there, and it adds just a little extra spice to the game. So download Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
Shout out Prize Picks. Fun way to supplement your hoops viewing experience. Shout out to Spoonie as well. It's like a little behind the scenes, but no one will understand the degree of difficulty of which Spoonie just rattled off that ad read, I should say, right off the template. Normally, I think we like to sort of write out our own little verbatim read. Yeah, I'm the same. And so that was very impressive.
Thank you.
Shout out to
Thank
Spoonie.
you.
We did have a nice comment there in the chat as well from Muzz31. Thank you for the super chat, Muzz. He says, first of the floor cruise feels like a long season to watch. As long as they play the kids, I'll be happy. But if we win with the kids, Banner 19.
Damn right.
Kind of segues nicely into
Perfectly.
to what we want to talk about. So, all right, let me find my notes here. Speaking of needing to read everything verbatim. Okay, so in a world divided, Celtics fans seem to find themselves more divided than ever. Spoonie, I feel like you, me, and Jake are well and truly on the same page around the Celtics and what it means, what the season means for the Celtics, what the goals are, and therefore what our expectations should be. But if you go out there and take the pulse of the fan base, Reddit, Twitter, etc., it's a wide spectrum of ideologies. This is damaging to me personally because I'm just used to like everyone knows we're going for the chip, we're going for the title. Jayson Tatum, Porzingis, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, etc. Like it was an easy objective to sort of wrap your mind around in the past. So in no particular order here, here's what people seem to be struggling with. The main one is, should this team tank or not? Like, what are we aiming for this season? What is the objective? And then some secondary divisive subjects. Should Anfernee Simons start over Peyton Pritchard? Why did we trade Drew Holiday for a 6-man for Anfernee Simons, who is now coming off the bench? Joe Mazzulla might actually be an awful coach. And then, I don't know, Spoonie, are there any other divisive subjects that you've got on your run sheet?
I've seen a lot of consternation about the clutch time performance because we've lost to Philly twice now in the clutch. And, just kind of haven't looked great at times in the clutch. And I've seen people sort of piggyback on like, is Joe just a bad coach? It's like, we've never been good in the clutch with Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah, that's a good one. If we've got time, we should throw in like Luka Garza as well. Like, is he good? Or like why he isn't good, I guess it might be a way to sort of wrap that particular line of thinking. But like sticking with the lottery stuff, or I should say the main primary goal for the season, like should we tank, shouldn't we tank? I think you need to start by defining what tanking is, because I don't think anyone is saying we should flat out like completely gut the roster and actively try to lose games. But the thing that people need to accept is that Brad, while also just needing to get under at least the second apron for financial reasons, has purposefully left this team where rebounding and scoring are extremely difficult, and thus winning is extremely difficult as well. And he's done that because this is the year to be bad, a la Golden State Warriors 2020 or whenever it was, for us to be bad, to boost our draft position and to develop some really young, promising talent. So if you're sweating the losses right now, I would urge you not to. Would you agree? Like that's kind of the way that one should, in a sane way, in a reasonable way, approach this season?
Yeah, so like, look, I understand there's a subset of the fan base who's like, winning culture, Celtics pride, we shouldn't be trying to lose games. I mean, from my position, and I was mixing it up on Reddit, I think yesterday or the day before about the tank or two tank. Yeah. And basically my point is like, I don't think anyone on Team Tank really is like, sit Jaylen Brown for the rest of the season. Derek White shouldn't play. But there's no reasonable argument that getting a high pick is worse long-term than like a first round exit. Mm-hmm. There's way more value in adding a top 5, 6, 7, 8th overall pick to this roster than there is in losing in the first round. I understand that there's some new young guys who could probably benefit from some playoff reps, but the core of this team, which is the Jays, Derek White, Pritchard, Sam Hauser, those dudes are born in the playoffs. They have so much. I don't even know what the hell did I born in the playoffs, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like Bane. Yeah. Yes. Born for the playoffs. It's like Bane, I was born in the whatever. Like they have so many playoff reps. Like the Jays have more playoff reps than like most of the superstars older than them practically. Joe obviously has tons of playoff reps. Like this team has a winning culture. You don't lose a winning culture because you have one season where you win 33 games or 35 games, right? Look at the Warriors. They had that terrible season. They got the number 2 pick and they won the title like 2 years later. Like, it doesn't just dissipate because you've had one bad season. And it's not like, oh, Tatum's healthy. How are we having such a bad season? We need to start asking questions. Like, it's very obvious why we'd have a bad season this year. We traded half the team and Tatum's hurt. So I like, the key is, for me, when I say I want a tank, I mean 2 things. If Jaylen Brown's anything hurts, he needs to sit until it does not hurt. Same goes for Derek White. Same goes for Pritchard and Hauser. Those 2 a little bit younger, so I'm not as concerned. And like Jaylen and Derek, maybe take the back-to-backs off. Like, is there really a reason for Derek White to be playing back-to-backs in January? I don't think so. And 2, and this is the most important one to me, is like, play the young guys. And Joe has been doing that. And like, surprise, surprise, they've actually been better than we all thought. And it's kind of leading to us being a little better than I think some of us thought. But those guys absolutely need to play. And I don't just mean Walshy and Minot, who have shown like, hey, they can give you some real minutes. Bring up Amari Williams. Let's see what he has. Bring up Max Shulga. Why not? Let's see what give him 20 minutes a game. Why not? Shulganator, baby. Like, let's see what these guys have and like commit to giving them legitimate looks in the rotation for more than a game. Like, give them 3 or 4 games. And because they're not going to get comfortable if they just play. You're coming down from Maine, you play 15 minutes. Okay, see you back in Maine. Maybe you'll be back in 2 months. Like, that's not going to do anything. I truly mean commit to seeing what you've got with these young guys. And that alone is going to lead to fewer wins. And then you look like, if you get a top 5 pick in this draft, it is franchise changing. Like, it completely alters the trajectory of the team.
Yeah, and I feel like Brad, with what was laid out for him on the table, he's done his best to maneuver things such to put us in a position for that essential, that ideology, that philosophy to come to fruition. But he doesn't have his hand on the steering wheel. He's kind of down in the engine room, and like, it's still up to Joe Mazzulla, I think, to like start or rest guys and decide on minutes and the rotation and things like that. So I feel like Brad's doing everything he can. A full tank would be Joe being like, I'm completely on board. Let's lose games. Like,
yes.
I'm going to start Max Shulga at the point guard and play him like 35 minutes tonight. That's not going to happen. So we're never going to achieve the full tank in that sense. But Brad Stevens, he knows what's up. He's smart enough to understand like why this is a pivotal moment. Like, we probably didn't want to arrive at this moment the way we did with Jayson Tatum going down with like a season-ending injury and him being out for the majority of, if not this full year. But that's where we're at. And you have to then make the smartest move under those circumstances. And I feel like Brad has positioned us well while magically putting us in this position to also develop some potentially really promising wing talent as well.
Yep.
He's really like making diamonds out of whatever the phrase is. Just to pivot slightly, RJ here, thank you again for the super chat. I think we've made more money on this stream than we have in like the past year. Thank you for that. Thank you, RJ. Joe is teaching this team how to win. Joe isn't going to sell out for a draft pick. Kind of like we were just saying, I still see this team finishing with 46 wins and a 4 seed as Hugo, Walshy, Minot, and Cater continue to develop. I mean, if we finish with the 4 seed led by those guys, then yeah, I mean, we've got another narrative to focus on, which is like these guys are playing insanely above the level of reasonable expectations. But Joe can teach this team to win while still accepting that there's just so many better rosters out there, and thus we are kind of doomed to like some win in that sort of 35 win territory. And I really hope we do so, because I was on Reddit earlier and I stole some draft stats from Tatum, Brown, White. He says the difference in odds by being in the top 4 versus not really isn't all that substantial anymore. And there's a reason for that. The NBA's goal was to make it less appealing for a team like the Celtics or Indiana to tank this year. And then Down East Sun followed up with some more sort of draft lottery-ish stats. They said the team with the worst record in the league will pick on average 3.7th. So 2.7 slots worse than their record deserves of them, if you will. The team with the 5th worst record will pick on average bang on 5th, and the team with the 8th worst record will on average pick 7th. So 1 slot better on average than their position. Of course, worst record equals better pick on average, but there are more diminishing returns now. So again, it just backs up the notion that like it would be good for us to be bad. We don't have to be all the way bad, but we should be we should aim to be lottery bound, because you just have to like get in there with a chance, and the odds are so much more flattened now that your chance of jumping up into that top 5, that franchise altering pick, as you say, Spoonie, is greater increased. I was going to say it's much more increased than it has been in recent years.
Yeah, man. And like, not only is that a great reason to say like the Celtics are in the perfect position to just lean in, like, and like we just need to go from like a 42 win team to like a 36 win team, which is not like a huge difference, right? And yeah, with the flat lottery odds, it really improves your chances of, when you get in that range, getting a top pick. And I will also say, this has a chance to be like an incredible draft. Like Mikael Brown, Jaden Quanance, like these dudes are mocked in the 7, 8, 9 range, and they have chances to be like stars. So this is the draft where, if you're like, man, we tanked and we only got the 7th pick, this might be the draft where it's like, hell yeah, we got the 7th pick. Like, we're going to walk away with a dude we at least see as like a starter level that's going to be locked up on like cheap-ish money for 4 years, and we have complete control, and he goes into restricted free agency. So we can lock up, like, even if it's like a really good rotation piece, you got him locked up for essentially 8 years, right? Like, we don't have a lot of ways to get talent onto this team. Like, we're just like, because of the aprons and the repeater tax, like, we're just really limited in how we can spend money and how we can acquire talent. So this is like the best way, you know? And like, I mean, I don't really see 45 wins with this team anyway. But like, reasonably they could win 43. Like, that's no doubt. But then you're probably in the playoffs. Then you're probably like the 8 seed in the East, right? And then you're talking like the diminishing returns from like a top 10 pick to like pick 16, 17. That is a pretty big difference in value, even if you only use it as a trade chip, you know?
Absolutely. So I'm like fully on board with one, like, again, not wanting to actively lose, but the perfect game is like kind of like that first Magic game, or the Sixers game where Walsh was quite good and we lost in the end, where like we're seeing before our eyes this like incredible player development from guys that we've sort of expected it from, but never really had the chance to see it from, you know, Jordan Walsh, Josh Minot, etc. But ultimately, like, we're losing more than half of our games because of how good an opportunity we have here to position ourselves well within the lottery. To me, that's simple. And like, if you have to think about what are your goals for the team as a fan, or however you approach the way you enjoy the Boston Celtics, I understand the people at the like very much the extreme end of the no tank spectrum, they want to win basketball games. They want to root for the winning team. They want to get out there in their Celtics swag and like be like, fuck yeah, like I root for the winning team. The Celtics are awesome, etc. Fine. That's a very short-sighted goal, because your goal should be, how do we get to the next championship? And that is positioning yourself well, developing your current young assets while positioning yourself to acquire new rookie salary controlled assets of a higher echelon of talent via the draft. And then hopefully you get a decent big, you know, with the mid-level exception or something. That's sort of the vague approach that it should be. And if we win a fuckload of games, like, we're just going to be so poorly positioned to take that path. And so I think people need to get on the same page here, Spoonie. It's kind of starting to piss me off a little bit, if I'm being honest, because like, it is kind of obvious.
Yeah, so my position is essentially like, what frustrates me is not so much that people disagree and don't want to tank. It's the complete disregard of that being a legitimate strategy, and just being like, that is not how you do things in Boston. Like, we don't tank. We should never tank. First of all, we've tanked multiple times. Like, we did it post Pierce Garnett. We did it during the Kevin Durant draft, and that was like, Pierce was healthy, like, and he just wasn't playing. Like, that was a really, like, that was some Sixers shit. Which it was worth it if we get Kevin Durant. Well, it ended up being worth it because we traded the 5th pick for Ray Allen, right? So that failed. We tanked hard and it failed. We went from second best odds to getting Kevin Durant to having to draft Jeff Green. But the 5th pick is such an incredible trade asset. We traded it for Ray Allen. I mean, like, so that even if you only get the 7th, 8th pick, like, that's got real tangible value. So what frustrates me is like completely casting aside that this is a real legitimate strategy. because that's frustrating. And same for Team Tank, where they're like, you're an idiot if you want to win basketball games. I don't think that either. Like, to your point, Ben, it's like, I understand why, especially if you're like paying to go to the games and stuff like that. Like, we don't have that opportunity to do it that often because we don't live up there. So I get it, but I think they're going to be fun. Even if they're a 35-win team, like, they're going to be fun. They're going to be young. They're going to play super hard. Like, I think it's going to be a very watchable product. And if the difference is going to be like 5, 6, 7 wins, that's all we're talking about. Like, that's not a huge difference, especially when the upside is, like you said, like, you have a chance to like add a dude onto this team that's cost control for the long term. So that's what frustrates me, is like, they're both legitimate in their own ways. I just completely disagree with one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I need to remind myself that like sometimes, like, at least not basketball, but basketball fandom is subjective, kind of like art or music, and people appreciate different aspects of it. So that's fine. I'm definitely not trying to tell anyone how they should consume the NBA product. But as far as positioning ourselves best for the future, I think that path is like pretty obvious. Anyway, and also, like we haven't talked about, there's a statistical likelihood that we'll see some form of injury to a starter. If that starter is Jaylen Brown or Neemias Queta, expect to lose most of the games that those people are out for. So there's that as well. That's probably going to happen at some point. I don't want that to happen at all. I would very much like for that not to happen, but it's likely to at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it, to your point, like, I think you're right that Jaylen is the most irreplaceable guy on this team and Queta is second. He leads the team in on-off differential. We're 30 points per 100 worse when he's off the court. I'm talking about Queta. 30 points. And it's like in fucking 300 minutes too. It's not a tiny sample size. It's crazy small sample size. RJ, how much did James Wiseman help the Dubs beat us in 22? None at all. So that's kind of goes to my point that even if you lean into the tank and fail, it's like, okay, that would suck that it failed, but it doesn't completely undermine the winning culture and what you've built as a team prior to this 1 year where you kind of dip into the draft a little bit. And like, had they traded that second pick, they could have got a shitload for that pick that night. So anyway, I forgot what I was saying, Ben, so you're going to have to save me here.
No, I think we're like, this was the main divisive point. So we spent the longest on that for a reason. Based on the comments, I don't know if we're any less divisive. So can we all just say we should unite in how much we love the Celtics? The Celtics are great. They're going to be awesome again, most likely in the very near future with Jayson Tatum returning. So let's unify around that. But please get a good draft pick this year, because like you said, Spoonie, that is a deep and talented draft, and like, there's no, from what I can tell, probably no James Wiseman's in the top 10-ish in the very little draft research that I've done. So anyway, should Anfernee Simons start? My response to that is no. He's 35th percentile in points per shot attempt per cleaning the glass. So like, despite this sort of aura of like being a really solid and efficient shooter, 40th percentile in effective field goal percentage as well. Great catch and shoot shooter. Not a great defender, not a good offensive creator, does not deal well with resistance on either side of the ball, doesn't seem to be very good at like breaking down his defender. It's the sort of player that you bring off the bench. It's, in a way, it's almost a version of Peyton Pritchard, where he sort of lacked a lot of those qualities earlier in his career, and he's since become more stout. And yes, we are seeing him being exploited now as a starter for some of those same reasons, but I don't think the disparity is such that you should start Anfernee Simons, especially just because of the way we acquired him by way of the Drew Holiday trade, which maybe we can lump into this as well, Spoonie. Do you think that Anfernee Simons is a deserving starter? Do you think that's even a conversation we should be having?
I am not an Ant guy. I'll just say that. Not an Ant guy. He is like my least favorite archetype of player. I will say, like, he is capable of just getting so white hot that it completely papers over any of his faults as a player. And that is great. That is especially great when that is your sixth man and you aren't relying on him to like guard the best players on the other team. Like, Pritchard's got like guarding Maxey and stuff like that, and like, kind of getting cooked, but Maxey cooks everybody. That said, I do have an argument for why Ant should start. He can't really run the offense. He's great at getting his own shot, and he's great at catch and shoot jumpers, but he is not a playmaker. He does not run the offense particularly well. He's not a great pick and roll operator other than get himself a good look, which he can do. So the argument to me is like, turn him into a catch and shoot guy with Derek and Jaylen and have most of his minutes with them, and then let Pritchard actually get the bench into offense and run the bench units and get the ball moving. So it's not so much just like the Ant Garza pick and roll show where Ant's kind of just hunting his own shot and everybody else is offensive rebounding like psychopaths, which has been effective at times. So I think that's the argument for the Ant start, is that like Pritchard's just more capable as like a true kind of point guard facilitator type, which might be able to help some of the bench guys out.
Yeah, I mean, would be interested in seeing how that plays out. I think obviously that would put Anfernee Simons in a better position to succeed, like sharing the court with guys who can create for him.
But do we care?
Called out. Yeah, do we
if
care?
He's in a better position to succeed.
Well, yeah, and like ultimately, and this comes down to like the subjectivity of like how you consume hoops, but I just feel like Peyton Pritchard just deserves to be the starter all year in what we're calling a gap year, in what we're calling this year, which is really just about how can we develop a situation that betters our championship odds going forward on Jayson Tatum's return. I just feel like while we're doing all that, Peyton Pritchard, just fucking start, man. You deserve it. You're pretty awesome. Really, Anfernee Simons is not adding anything additional other than some better catch and shoot numbers. And Peyton Pritchard is still statistically and historically incredible in that sense as well. I just don't think there's any sense about it. And, you know, if the long-term view with Anfernee Simons is to, I don't know, I hate to say it, but like develop his trade value, and he's already an expiring contract, that adds some value to him as a potential trade chip as well. And like we've seen how he can, I think very clearly, how he can clearly benefit an NBA offense. But I just don't think it's to the point where he should be starting, especially if what we just said for the last 20 minutes is true, which like the aim should not necessarily be to win games this year.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, Simons is just a weird player. He's just a tough guy to fit into the context of like a truly high level winning team. That's probably why we haven't traded him yet, because nobody is interested in trading for him, especially on his $27 million a year contract. So like I'm with you. That's really how I feel, is like Pritchard just kind of deserves it, man. And like he's the better defender, even though I wouldn't say Pritchard's a good defender. For his size, maybe he's a good defender, but not like overall impact. And like he and Derek and Jaylen have really good chemistry. They play off each other well. And like Pritchard's going to start making shots. I think he was 5 of 10 from 3 against Memphis. Like maybe that'll get him going. And then all of a sudden he's going to be up to flirting with 40% from 3. Like Pritchard's too good of a shooter for this to continue going. And like, that's really the only argument for Ant starting over Pritchard, is Pritchard just can't make a 3 right now. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, like the on-offs massively favor Pritchard. He's like, we're way better when he's on the court than off. Ant is the opposite. We're considerably worse when he's on than off. So yeah, to me, like I just, it makes sense from a sort of team chemistry standpoint. And I just think Pritchard's more impactful winning wise. But Ant's a fun 6-man. There's no, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun wrinkle of the season. Like, what are you, like, to us or to someone else? Like, how is this going to play out? I kind of, from a game-to-game basis, just like watching him come in and watching him closely in terms of like how he can contribute to either his trade value or to our future winning situation excites me. Just on the Drew Holiday stuff really quickly, I added that in because I saw a Reddit post and a couple of sporadic Twitter tweets saying like, remind me again why we traded Drew Holiday for like a 6-man for Anfernee Simons, like a worse player while Drew is cooking. And the simple answer to that is like, please Google the second apron and more broadly the CBA. Wrap your head around that a little bit. Like there were some very harsh penalties if we were going to remain over the CBA, including either losing our pick or it falling back to 30th by default, and negates everything we've talked about on the show essentially. So that was an essential move. Anything else on that before we move on to Joe Mazzulla and the clutch time stuff?
Yeah, well, and just long term, not only is it like this year we saved money, but Drew is owed $35 million when he's 36 and $37 million when he's 37. Ant's an expiring contract, so that just opens up way more flexibility in the offseason as well. So it's the money this year and the money for the next couple of years.
RJ feels differently, I think. But yeah, I'm with you, Spoonie. So Joe Mazzulla apparently being an awful coach. Basically, if you just look at Dan Greenberg's Twitter, he's just like Jon Snow unsheathing the sword at the army, like swathing upon him, just defending Joe Mazzulla's honor. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I got to go in a sec, but like Joe Mazzulla, very clear about his philosophy. He screamed at Jack Simone about it recently, that it's just about like generating advantages and then playing off of them. That to me feels like a real plug and play system that kind of works regardless of your roster. I think we're seeing maybe a lack of play finishes at the moment, which is causing our below 500 record. But like ultimately, that's a good sustainable philosophy that's relatively easily implemented. As well, the current roster, which we're talking about not being particularly good, currently have the 10th ranked defense when playing teams that rank in the top 10 offensively, and that's 6 games thus far. So like, again, maybe this is worthy of its own pod and it's probably worthy of more time because Joe deserves that. But like, that doesn't sound like bad coaching material to me.
No, I think the way he has this team playing, the way he's getting a tune out of like Jordan Walsh and Josh Minot is evidence that Joe is a really, really damn good coach. And I don't know where the clutch stuff is coming from. I feel like we have this argument every year where people are like, we suck in the clutch because we lose a few games. Joe's first year, we were 24-13 in the clutch, 8th best record. 21-12 the next year, 10th best record. 24-11 last year, 7th best record. So we are a very good clutch team for Joe's entire career as the head coach. And I think what people have trouble is that they feel like if you're up 20 and you end up winning by 6, you have blown the lead and played poorly. But that's not really how it works, right? Like that happens a lot in the NBA. I would say every time there's like a 10-game slate for a day, one team is going to go up big and then it's going to end up being a close game. What matters is that you're able to hold on and win the game. And there's definitely been times where we have gotten stagnant offensively and it's led to ugly basketball in the clutch. That has been a problem before with Brad Stevens. That was a problem in the Big Three Celtics era with like Pierce Garnett and Ray Allen. I remember Simmons talking about the clogged toilet offense in clutch. Like that's just kind of how teams play in the clutch because they don't want to turn it over, and just like kind of having your best player isolate in the clutch is the safest way to play offense and make sure you get a shot. So it can be frustrating at times. I understand, but we have been damn good in the clutch Joe's entire career.
Yeah, prevent offense is it's a perpetual like game closing strategy for better or for worse across the league when you're up by a shitload. And you could also, just to close out on the main point of the show, is like it's arguably clutch to lose by 1 this season for us as we're trying to better our draft position. So this was fun. I don't know if we achieve the goal of unifying the Celtics fan base. It feels like that's maybe it's just not for us to do, Spoonie. But it was good for me to chat to you and get some thoughts from people in the chat as well about just like, I don't know about you, but all these thoughts are swimming around my head like all the time about like, what does this mean? Like, what's going to happen? Like, what's going to happen essentially with the Celtics? And to talk it out is therapeutic for me. So thank you. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap this one up?
I don't think so. More Jordan Walsh minutes. Keep him starting, Joe. Let's ride it, baby. Let's see where this heads.
Yeah, amen, brother. All right, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. We're about to have a whole bunch of extra stuff up on the Patreon next week because basically last week we just ran out of time to do any of that. So apologies to Patreon subscribers for that. We will make it up to you. Plenty more content coming up on this feed as well. So make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. That means so much to us. Spoonie, love your work, man. Until next time, go Celts.